Hey guys, what's up? So we are continuing the science and tech series. Hopefully the class 6 is finally finished. So we'll now be dealing with the 7th class, and that was, please watch the previous videos 2.1 to 2.5 that deals with 6th class and beyond, obviously not just 6th class. And this is presented by me. It will be dealing with chapter 1, that is nutrition in plants, and just trying to impart some high quality accessible education, and it's my humble effort. And if you want to know about anything, or if you have any query or doubt, you know where to go. That is either YouTube or Facebook. Now obviously you need to focus again on keywords and summary, nothing else. I will be going much beyond than what NCERT is covering, obviously, because that's how comprehensive coverage is needed for UPSC, not just merely NCERT. That is an indicative, not exhaustive list. So I tried to create exhaustion through indication. Hopefully you have understood that if you have read good polity. But anyway, moving forward, please watch all these tutorials in sequence. Like first start with the introduction, then 2.1. Already 6 videos are there, so please watch them before coming here, because there is considerable overlap and I will not be repeating it the same thing again most of the time. I might repeat sometimes, but not most of the time. It will be just waste of time. Please don't skip any tutorial. Don't think you're god. Even if you know much, just try to watch it at 1.5x speed, which I do. Increase the speed, so 15-minute tutorial will be finished in 8 minutes or 9 minutes, something like that. And current affairs will be need to deal separately. I'll not be covering current affairs, so go through Hindu, Thursday newspaper, and mrnal.org, and Yojana, and Science and Tech, Science Reporter, etc. And please listen carefully and revise from the PDF of the tutorials. No need to make notes. I will provide all the PDFs. Absolutely no need to worry. So these are the 18 chapters which are there in 7th class NCERT. So biology chapter, now we will be dealing with nutrition in plants, but here is the complete list. You can go through this. So I'll be dealing with nutrition in plants in this particular video. Now nutrition is obviously CVPF, we have covered this, that is CFPVM is equals to nutrients, that is carbs, proteins, fats, vitamins and minerals. Plants are the only organisms, this is written in NCERT, but it is technically wrong, because sulfur bacteria and archaebacteria are there which can create their own food. They use carbon dioxide, water, sunlight. We are talking about plants, most of the plants anyway. Even all the plants are also not autotrophs, some are heterotrophs also. They take minerals, carbon dioxide, water, sunlight to make simple sugars like glucose, and they release oxygen in the process. This process is called as photosynthesis. Phos means light. So what happens in photosynthesis is, let's say there is something called as chlorophyll. Okay, so chlorophyll will absorb the PAR, that is photosynthetically active radiation, and the light energy will be coming. Carbon dioxide is there in the atmosphere. Now carbon dioxide will enter through the stomata. We will be dealing with it later, and then it will enter after, like it will pierce the epidermis and cuticle. And finally water, CO2 and sunlight will combine in leaves, that is in the chlorophyll region, and they will result in the production of glucose molecule, that is C6H12O6 plus oxygen, and some water vapor will also evaporate through the transpiration. And these mineral process and water is obviously absorbed through the roots, obviously, and they are transported towards the leaves, and the sugar is converted into starch, and which is stored in the stem and roots. So this was the entire process of photosynthesis in short for you. Now this happens usually in leaves, that is why they are called as food factories, but it may happen in stem also and branches also. Example, in case of cactus, there is green fleshy stem, so it will happen in stem only. Now nutrients, why they are required? Because they are required for growth, repair, energy is required for various life processes, metabolic processes, etc. And nutrition is the mode of intake plus how it is utilized. Is that understood? So nutrients is different from nutrition. So autotrophs are plants, but autotrophic is the mode of nutrition. Is that understood? So plants are called the autotrophs. Auto means self, trophos means nutrition or nourishment. This is extremely important. For example, there is a term called as eutrophication. Is that understood? So eutrophication is the enrichment of lakes. So when there is excess of nourishment of lakes, they grow old and senile and no life is possible. I will be dealing with it separately. This nutrition is called as autotrophic nutrition. Auto means self, trophos means nourishment. Now most other organisms like animals, including human beings, they depend on them directly or indirectly. Is that absolutely understood? Most other animals will depend on them either directly or indirectly. Heterotrophic, that is why they are called as heterotrophic. So heteros means different or another. For example, heterosexual means those who are attracted to different sex, not the same sex. So heteros means different or another. Now water plus minerals is absorbed via roots and they are transferred from soil to stem to branches and ultimately it reaches the leaves. Now this carbon dioxide from air is absorbed through the stomata in leaves, which are the tiny pores on the surface. They are also called as stoma. So basically stomata is of two parts. Okay, stomata is divided into two parts. One is called as stoma, stoma, plus other is called as guard cells, gc, guard cells. Is that understood? It helps in gas exchange. Stomata helps in gas exchange, carbon dioxide, water vapor, etc., etc., during respiration as well as photosynthesis. So during photosynthesis, plants give out oxygen, while during respiration, plants give out carbon dioxide. But net outflow is of oxygen, hence plants give life. That's how we know them. Now chlorophyll is a green pigment which fixes sunlight. Fixes means like it captures it and helps in photosynthesis. Photo means light, synthesis means put together or combine. Technically phos means light, but again photos, photon, anything can be used to make meant light. Now stomata and leaf diagram, I'll make the stomata. Leaf, obviously you know, this is called as petiole, this is called a lamina, this is called a midrib, and this is called as venation. Is that understood? So I have already dealt with, I'll not repeat it here. So let's see how is it. So this is something called as this, and then this is this. Okay, is that understood? So these, what are these cells, are called as guard cells, and this is a stomata which is closed. There is no stoma in it. So now I'll open it and something like this it will become. It will become something like this. Sorry for the diagram. And yeah, now this is called as an open stoma. So this opening is called as stoma. Now obviously it will have something called as nucleus, then it will have some green structure. They are called as chloroplast, which are nothing but chlorophyll containing. Now there will be vacuoles, big vacuoles storing water and food. This is very common in plant cells. This entire structure is called as guard cells, and there will be a thick which is called as cell wall because it's a plant structure, and again it will be surrounded by something called as epidermis or epidermal cell. Is that understood? So please remember this diagram. It might come in catchy, especially guard cell wala jo term hai, that can be asked. But anyway, this is more or less complete. So this opening is called as stoma. In usual case, they are like this. They are like closed. This is called as the thick cell wall, and the structure remains the same. And in case of open, it is stoma. So now moving forward, ultimate source of energy on earth for anything is sun. All obviously solar energy is the absolutely everything जो भी आपका iPhone and everything that has been made till now, atom bomb, any plane which flies, it's ultimately contributed to sun. Now simple sugars like glucose are ultimately converted into starch, which is a complex carbohydrate. What do you mean by sugar? So चलो यार अब पढ़ा देता हूँ. Its technical term, sugar is anything which is sweet plus it is a very simple kind of sugar which is soluble in water usually, and then it can usually monosaccharide and disaccharide, rarely oligosaccharide. Monosaccharide means it has only one sugar component. So example is glucose, example is galactose, and example is others. And in case of disaccharide, here example is maltose, which is nothing but glucose plus glucose. Okay, then you have the table sugar जो अपन चीनी खाते हैं, that is called as sucrose. This is sucrose. It is so another monosaccharide is fructose. So these are the three most common monosaccharides. There are literally hundreds of them. Sucrose is glucose plus fructose, maltose is glucose plus glucose, and finally we have जो मम्मी के दूध में होता है, that is lactose, which is composed of glucose plus galactose. इतना भी याद रह गया, that is more than enough. Now no photosynthesis, there will be no fixing of solar energy and there will be no life. Okay, photosynthesis की basic reaction होती है 6 water plus 6 carbon dioxide plus energy gives C6H12O6, which is nothing but glucose. The same formula is of fructose, but the structure is entirely different, plus 6 oxygen. Photosynthetic efficiency क्या होती है? Let's say 100 joule की energy is putting on earth, that is falling on earth, out of which 3 to 6 joule will be converted into like the plant product, that is glucose. So that is the energy which is captured. So that is the only efficiency. However, this is total solar radiation. Entire radiation is not utilized. There will be X-rays, there will be UV rays, and there will be infrared rays which are not utilized at all. Is that understood? So only the photosynthetically active radiation is utilized. What is the wavelength range? 400 to 700 nanometer or you can write 4000 to 7000 angstrom. Nanometer is 10 to the power minus 9 meter and angstrom is 10 to the power minus 10 meter. All this has been covered. This is what is called as visible spectrum. 400 you have V, that is violet, and 700 you have red, and in between you have Vib Gyore. Is that understood? So 400 you have violet, which is the highest energy, and red is the lowest energy. Energy is inversely proportional to wavelength. Now cells have a cell membrane, which is a thin outer boundary. There is a nucleus which contains all the DNA, most of the DNA, because there is mitochondrial DNA also, and it is centrally located in cells. Cytoplasm is the material which surrounds the nucleus. Oxygen is produced during photosynthesis. Equation is already given. Chlorophyll fixes the sunlight. Photosynthesis takes place in green stems also, green branches also. Obviously I have told you to reduce the loss of water, cactus has it and other desert plants also have it. Carbohydrates are converted to starch after photosynthesis. So this is basic, which we have covered already. So now please focus here, it is extremely important. एक दो क्वेश्चन इसमें से आ सकते हैं. This is what is called as an animal cell. Okay, don't forget this is an animal cell because there is no cell wall, there is no vacuole. Okay, so if these two structure are missing, cell बिल्कुल पतली सी है, this is just cell membrane. So now focus on this structure. Okay, this structure is critical here, and this is what we call as nucleus. Can you see this pore? This is called as nuclear pore. This structure inside the nucleus, a dark colored, this is called a nucleolus. Okay, and this thread like structure is the chromosome, chromatin, DNA, सब इसी में है. पूरी लाइफ इसी से चल रही है 4 बिलियन साल से. For past 4 billion years this DNA and RNA are sustaining the life. Initially it was RNA, then it switched over to DNA. उसके भी advantages हैं, but that is beyond UPSC. This is Golgi apparatus which is secretory in nature. This is like transport packaging, और फिर लात मार के यहाँ से secretory vesicle बाहर निकाल देता है. It's like a transport company. This entire structure is gel-like structure. This is cytoplasm. This is a small vacuole which may be present in animal cell also, but definitely cell wall will never be present in animal cell. 100% sure. Peroxisome is a structure which produces peroxidase enzyme. There are other features also, but it counters what is called as free radicals. Is that understood? So free radicals, obviously it is beyond the scope of discussion. I can't go beyond. Just remember, smooth endoplasmic reticulum is smooth because oil is smooth. तेल जो होता है वो smooth होता है, चिकना होता है. So that is why it produces fat. Just remember this. And rough endoplasmic reticulum is rough because of R. R is because of R. That is, ribosomes are present, and everybody knows ribosome is the structure which makes protein. So obviously this has to be close to the nucleus because the protein information comes out from RNA. Messenger RNA, transfer RNA. Obviously पता नहीं आपको पता है कि नहीं, but still like basic you must know. And this is mitochondria. This produces ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate, which is the cell currency of power currency, and this is called as powerhouse of cell. This is cell's powerhouse, mitochondria. And centrosome is obviously responsible for replication, division, and microfilament provides the overall structure. And finally, if anything has to like digest, it is by lysosomes, and it can even consume the entire cell, and they are called as suicide bags of cell. Is that understood? And they can lead to death of the cell. So I hope you understood this. Anyway, we'll be dealing with it later. Iodine test में क्या करते हैं? Basically you take two plants, one in sunlight and one in dark. Obviously the dark one will have no photosynthesis, so it will have no starch and there will be not reactive with iodine. Light one will react with iodine. Photosynthesis not necessarily takes place in green leaves, it takes place in red leaves, brown leaves also. There are other pigments, xanth pigments and other pigments which are different colored. जब autumn हो जाता है ना, autumn, so the chlorophyll dies because it has nitrogen plus magnesium. So chlorophyll degrades. So color of the leaves turn what you called as reddish brown or something called as orange. इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि the plant will die. These leaves will also continue photosynthesis. Again, it is beyond the discussion of the topic. Now algae has chlorophyll, so it is somewhat, people may put it in category of plants, but that is technically wrong again. So basically you have algae, then you go to the bryophytes, then pteridophytes, then gymnosperms, then angiosperms. Fungus is entirely separate. It has absolutely nothing to do with plants. Slimy sheet like green patches देखा होगा pond में. You know what algae is. You have like slip हो जाते हैं उसमें काफ़ी बार near any water body, especially stagnant water body. Obviously they are autotrophic, and Now carbohydrates is C plus H plus O, and plants make fats and proteins because they need nitrogen, because they want to make proteins, and obviously they make fat. So now this is the composition of everything. Now Cuscuta is a characteristic example. It is a plant, but it is completely heterotroph. Completely heterotroph. It is also called as Amarbel because it is sucks the life out of other. There is absolutely no chlorophyll. It is a parasite. It deprives the host plant of the nutrients. It grows over it. आपने देखा होगा वो पीली पीली बेल सी लगी रहती है. That is yellow, tubular and slender. It is a it grows over other plants and sucks the food out of them. That is why it is heterotroph and a parasite. Now insectivorous plant, again the term is technically wrong because they are carnivorous plant. They can eat any arthropoda. Basically arthropoda जो होता है phylum, that it has insecta as just one class. There are other class also like arachnida in which spider comes, etc, etc. Again goes beyond the scope of discussion. So they are carnivorous plant. They can eat mouse also, they can eat frog also, they can eat any organism which is small enough and falls into their trap. Largely they are autotrophs, but because of the certain conditions, they grow in lack of nutrients in soil, especially the nitrogen is deficient, extremely critical. Please remember, they can ask this. Example, acidic bogs and rock outcropping, these are the areas where nitrogen is deficient, so they grow in that areas, so they need that minerals. So they are partially heterotrophs because they eat, literally eat and digest animals, especially insects and other arthropods. Example are these 5 examples you must remember. Pitcher plant, also called as Nepenthes. Drosera, also called as sundew. Venus flytrap, also called as Dionia muscipula. Bladderworts, also called as Atricularia. And water wheel plant, also called as Eldrovanda. Again I'll repeat: pitcher plant Nepenthes, Drosera sundew, Venus flytrap Dionia, bladderworts Atricularia, and water wheel plant Eldrovanda. If you remember these 5, there will be an MCQ, which of the following is not an insectivorous plant, or which of the following is insectivorous plant, and 5 में से एक आएगा 100% guaranteed, और 3 आएंगे और 4th one will not be from this list, so you can easily make out. Now pitcher plant has insect which lands inside the pitcher, fine hairs traps it and pulls it downwards, lid closes, digested by digestive juice, not important. And it has brightly colored tentacles which has sticky mucilage which attracts and traps and kills arthropods. And finally there are different traps in this, so I'll show you the pics now. So this is a pitcher plant. You can see a pitcher, इसमें जाएगा insect and then it will go inside, this lid will close and automatically it will die. Here you can see this is operculum. So in biology, operculum is lid or covering, opening or covering or whatever you want to say, that is called as operculum. Now this is mouth, obviously this is peristome, not important. This is pitcher tube in which the digestive juices will be secreted. Now this plant, obviously I have said that this is the sticky mucilage of sundew, and इस पे चिपक जाएगा and the leaf will start rolling and it will digest it. Again the same thing, you can see the small animal here. Now this is which is called as Venus flytrap. बड़ा डरावना सा लगता है, कार्टून में यही होता है वो जो दिखाते हैं. इसमें obviously the insect will sit like this happily. जैसे ही ये बैठेगा it will get closed and obviously there will be death and plant will get nutrients out of it. Now what are saprotrophs? Saprotrophs are organism, while saprotrophic again is mode of nutrition. अभी तक तो समझ में आ गया होगा आपको. Now they grow in hot and humid conditions. There is thread-like filaments. Now you must have seen them on growing on breads, etc. जब छोड़ देते हैं तो especially in hot moist conditions, there are white, brown, green, yellow color growth on them, which looks ugly and disgusting. And I have a pic on Instagram, you can check it out. It's my cup tea and I have just like there is fungus all over the place. So basically what happens is fungal spores are everywhere, but they land and germinate in favorable conditions and they grow within 2-3 days, and then it spreads like wildfire. Now digestive juices are secreted by fungus outside their body. The nutrients is converted into soluble form and they are sucked through filaments, or you may also call them hyphae or whatever you want to. And it is obviously on dead and decaying matter. They usually do not occupy a live organism, but a fungal infection can happen in live organism also, provided their immunity is low. So for example, in AIDS patient, I have seen lots of them in our hospital and I have seen that they are dying and there are lots of fungal infection on their skin and in their mouth, candida and all the fungus growing. Examples include mushrooms, fungi, molds, etc. Now this is not given in NCERT, but I thought I'll cover it. So aflatoxin is a very important toxin. It is a type of mycotoxin. Mycology means study of fungus. So myco means fungus. So afla, Aspergillus flavus, this is how it is named, Aspergillus flavus toxin. It is a type of fungus or mold, whatever you want to call it. It is also produced by Aspergillus parasiticus. It is produced naturally, and where it is produced in maize, groundnut, peanut butter. And what it leads to? It leads to acute liver necrosis, which will lead to acute death. And if it does not happen, sorry, it is hepatic here, sorry, and later it leads to liver cancer or cirrhosis. Okay, so it is a very dangerous toxin, and there are various ways to monitor it. So this is a orange, and you can see there is a lot of fungus going it. This is penicillium fungus. इसको खा मत जाना, it is not antibiotic. And as you can see here, this is the greenish, whitish, yellowish patch. This is a bread completely covered with fungus, and this is the growth of fungus here starting. These are mushrooms, बहुत सुंदर लगते हैं, लेकिन many mushrooms are poisonous, especially in the wild, so don't eat them if you don't know them. Especially if you hear this term, which is called as Amanita muscoides. Okay, so don't eat this mushroom, it is poisonous. It can come in MCQ also, Amanita muscoides. These are again different type of mushrooms, very beautiful, but they can be poisonous. And again, this is very look like puppy, but it can kill you. It is a poisonous mushroom. And this is also a fungus, so this is a very common form of growth which you can see everywhere in rainy season. Final topic for today is nitrogen fixation. I have already dealt with nitrogen cycle, but again I'll cover it briefly. Plants can't utilize atmospheric nitrogen unlike CO2. So CO2 can be utilized directly, but not nitrogen. Now nitrogen cycle converts atmospheric nitrogen into various chemical forms. Obviously, like ammonium में convert करना पड़ेगा. If nitrogen can't be utilized, obviously it will have to be converted. So it will be converted into ammonium or nitrogen dioxide. This goes through process of fixation होगा atmospheric into soil nitrogen. Then it is ammonification, nitrification, denitrification. अभी करेगा कौन? Obviously there are different bacteria for each process. So they are called as nitrogen fixing soil bacteria. But obviously there are different structures also. Like if I talk about nostoc, so if you have heard of this is a free, ये free में करता है. This is not like in a mutual partnership with anyone. It converts gaseous nitrogen into absorbable form. Okay, and the roots take this nitrogen through absorbed water to the leaves. Example rhizobium. ये किस में grow करता है? Legumes में. So that is why it produces a structure called as leg hemoglobin, because it needs to carry oxygen away from bacteria. So there is lack of oxygen, and only then bacteria can work, because it is an anaerobic reaction. Please remember this term, कुछ याद नहीं रहे. Leg hemoglobin is present in the roots. Even if you cut them, it is red color. Actually, कभी take out a pulse plant and you will see huge these kind of things, मोटे मोटे गांठे. They are called as nodes, and if you cut them, it will red in color because of leg hemoglobin. And they get food and they shelter in turn. They will get food and shelter from plants, and they live in the roots of legumes or pulses like moong, gram, peas, etc. Leguminous plant don't need nitrogen fertilizer. This is critical, because obviously fixing is going on, not match fixing, nitrogen fixing, and it is helpful to farmers, and it can be used in crop rotation. So एक साल you utilize that crop which needs nitrogen, so you spray fertilizer. Next year you use leguminous plants, so you don't need fertilizers. Now symbiotic relationship, again it is a very controversial topic. According to NCERT, it means organisms which live together and share nutrients and shelter. But this is what is called as mutualism. This is not symbiosis. Please remember this. Example, mycorrhiza, lichens. Lichens is algae plus fungus. Mycorrhiza is fungus plus roots of trees. Fungus helps in the absorption of nutrients, and both, remember both. In lichens also, in mycorrhiza also. Here they are provided with shelter plus food. Lichens, algae provide them with food, because algae can do photosynthesis, because algae is autotroph. Technically it is wrong. Again I have told you, it is mutualism, because symbiosis means it is 130-year-old debate, and which is finally settled now, that any close or prolonged interaction between species is a symbiosis. Is that understood? It can be mutualism, it can be parasitism. Parasitism आपको पता है, liver fluke on human beings, ascaris in human beings. Commensalism means where one party is benefited, other is not harmed. Example, barnacles travel on whale. Epiphytes like growing on the other plants. You must have read in previous videos. Amensilism means one is harmed, other is not affected. Example, juglone is secreted from black walnuts, और उसकी जितनी भी रूट एरिया होता है, द एरिया नियर बाय इट्स रूट्स, इट डिस्ट्रॉय ऑल द हर्ब्स. And sin necrosis is rare, extremely rare, because it means that both the parties are harmed. Example, when bee bit a victim to protect its hive, both the bee suffers as well as the victim suffers. Please remember this. Bee bite करके bee does not like it. It only bites or it only stings when it has threat to its hive. So this is called as sin necrosis. Can you have a logical evolutionary reason why sin necrosis is rare? Because it is harmful to both the parties, obviously evolution will not select it, sir. Now plant will take nutrients from the soil as they grow. Fertilizers and manures. Fertilizers are technically synthetic fertilizer term hota hai. Manures is more like vermicompost, which you talked in last thing. It contains NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. Mainly, obviously it has magnesium and manganese and all the other things. Soil nutrients will need to be replenished and it has to be plant specific as well. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता आप एप्पल की खेती कर रहे हैं एंड यू आर ग्रोइंग वॉलनट एंड यू आर ग्रोइंग बादाम एंड यू आर ग्रोइंग व्हीट, तो सब में सेम फर्टिलाइजर नहीं लगेगा. एंड देयर विल बी ए जनरल स्प्रे ऑल्सो जो व्हीट और राइस दोनों में चल जाएगा. Now finally, crop will utilize soil nitrogen to make proteins, hence deficiency of nitrogen will happen in soil after the harvest. So please spread the word as much as you can. I hope you like the tutorial and be a part of this education revolution. It's a humble request from my side. Do hit the thumbs up so that other people can find it very easily. YouTube has these algorithms, and do comment here only so that it gets up and people can find it easily. Because there is a lot of crappy content which I don't want you to see, because I have witnessed that content, and after that I am requesting you to do that. And this is the page, facebook.com/romansani.official. This is the Twitter handle. You can ask me query during ask me anything sessions and spread the free education revolution. Thank you for watching the tutorial. Have an awesome day.